Welcome everybody to today's sneak peek webinar. We're delighted to have you join us. This webinar is a sneak peek, which means it's about 25 minutes preview of a 60-minute session that will take place just in 1 month at the 2017 NAA Education Conference and Exposition. This year, the conference features 4 sessions specifically tailored for folks who are maintenance focused. In the past, we've gotten very strong feedback saying that there was a need for this kind of content. And this year, we're really proud to have 4 separate sessions that will be featured on the program. So for the first time in 20 years, the 2017 NAA Education Conference and Exposition will be held in Atlanta, June 21st through 24th. We're certain that Atlanta's unique energy and Southern charm will infuse every aspect of the event, and we'll be providing you with some great education, awesome networking opportunities, and a chance to explore the exposition, which gives you cutting-edge information about products and services available to the multifamily housing industry. We expect about 10,000 people this year. Our attendance is tracking well ahead of last year. We feel really confident this is going to be the largest multifamily event in the world ever. We have some really great general session speakers lined up for you. We have Robin Roberts, Alec Baldwin, and Afdel Aziz on Saturday, along with 60 breakout education sessions. My colleague, Megan Kafiri, has stepped into my office. She heard we were having a webinar today, and she asked for a chance to talk to you about a couple things that may be of interest to you at the upcoming event. Hi, Megan.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar today. Just a couple quick announcements that we wanted to make you aware of. Number one is Maintenance Mania. Across the country and all year round, NAA affiliates host Maintenance Mania events to recognize the top maintenance technicians in the industry. And the winners from each affiliate get a chance to qualify for a spot at the National Championship, which happens at our education conference next month. So if you're going to be there, we hope you'll join us and nearly 1,000 other spectators to watch these highly skilled maintenance technicians in this fast-paced race of skills and timing. There are 8 events, including a Pinewood Derby-style car race. So come and cheer on your favorite finalists at the NAA Exposition on Friday, June 23rd. And for more information, visit our website at www.nahq.org/maintenance-mania. And if you're interested in, participating in any of those events, you can also get that information and the list of local affiliate events throughout the year at that same website as well.
Awesome. And again, that's on Friday, June the 23rd at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of stuff going on in June. But we'll be trying to cue you into the things we think might be of interest to you. So yeah. Make sure you remember that date and time.
Yeah.
And what else, Megan?
We also have what's called a Canty Certification. Earning a credential demonstrates your commitment to your career and gives you valuable insights and real-world skills you can use on the job. And credentials also validate your knowledge and skills, enhance your credibility, boost your confidence, all those sorts of benefits to boost your career. And NAA's Education Institute offers several opportunities for credentials, including a certificate for apartment maintenance technicians, or otherwise known as CAMT. Unfortunately, it's not offered through all of our affiliates, but you can visit our website to sign up or to see if it's available through yours. And if not, you can always contact us, and we can see what we can do to help to get that up and running for you at the local level. So visit our website for more information at www.nahq.org/credentials. And back to your regularly scheduled program.
That would be me. Thank you so much, Megan. Thanks for coming. Greatly appreciate it. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed panel of experts today. We really packed a panel full of talent, and I'm really excited to have a whole gang of guys on our webinar. Usually it's predominantly women who are presenting. So today is the day of the dudes. So get ready, dudes. Terry Danner serves as Site Plan CEO. Prior to Site Plan, Terry was with Greystar. He was their executive director, overseeing U.S. property management operations, client services, regional maintenance and construction management, and other ancillary business services. He's perhaps best known as the founder of Riverstone Residential Group, serving as president and later as CEO until the company was sold to Greystar. Next up is Chase Harrington. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Entrata. Entrata offers a wide variety of online tools that serve more than 200,000 apartment communities nationwide, including 32 of the top NMHC's largest managers. Since joining the company, Chase has been focused on building a world-class sales product and service teams. Also with us today is Matthew Kelly. He's the Vice President of Facilities and Project Management for Campus Apartments. Matt has over 14 years of experience in conventional and student housing development, project management, and facilities management operations. He's served as lead project manager on over $150 million in development and construction projects. Currently, he manages all aspects of the facilities management operations and directly manages the safety and turnover programs for the company's owned and managed portfolios. Last but not least is Raymond Van Beveren, who joined Pinnacle in July of 2016 as Senior Vice President of Construction Services and Facilities. He's responsible for the construction, maintenance, purchasing, and development department. He works closely with the team to plan and execute strategies to enhance the value of the communities Pinnacle manages. Afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time for us today. We're so glad to have you here. Raymond, he's going to be our moderator for the panel, and I'm going to turn over controls to Raymond. How you doing, Raymond?
Good. Thank you, Clark. I think I have control now, maybe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Oh.
Try one more time. There we go.
There we go. Thanks, Clark. Like you said earlier, I'm excited about the conference being in Atlanta, and appreciate you giving us the opportunity to sneak preview into our presentation, and we're excited to share some things with you. You know, as an operator that's in charge of, construction and maintenance and facilities, I remember the days when we first started. I started in the industry, I had to go to, these stores to go buy the clipboards and the paper and, run around with all these things. And I think those days are long gone. And, with now, several service partners providing the software, we're able to, come up with technology and modernize the way we, manage our processes and really, optimize the customer service and better maintain the properties and improve overall staff efficiency as well. So we're excited to bring this to you, and we're just going to jump right in since we kind of limited time today, and we're going to try to kind of jump into certain parts of our presentation to kind of give you a little bit of tease and have you come back and listen to the rest of our presentation when the conference comes to Atlanta. So we'll start here with the first question and to the panel. Yeah, just trying to get this to work. We'll ask the question here first, and hopefully I can get this the first slide. A little technical difficulties here. But we'll start with you, Terry. People sometimes say that technology overcomplicates the way we do things. Why use mobile as opposed to paper?
Okay, great. Thanks, Raymond. Well, for some things, obviously, paper is easier. So I don't want to poo-poo paper in general, but I'd like to focus for just a second on service requests, because it's something that touches every property pretty much every day. So let's talk about the path of paper on a service request. And we all know that service requests can come in from a number of different avenues. Ultimately, they're getting back to the leasing consultant. Probably or somebody in the office who's writing it down on a piece of paper, unless they're fortunate enough to have it entered through a portal directly, or they're actually on their screen where they kind of type it right in. But far too many of them end up on a sticky note which ultimately probably gets either passed to a maintenance technician on a piece of paper, or they're texting the maintenance guy saying, hey, Joe in unit 302 just called and he needs this work done in his apartment. And we found ultimately that, that sticky note, that texting, that kind of messaging around, half of it never makes it back into the system. In fact, in some of the surveys we've done, we found that kind of 30 to 40% kind of never make it in. So you have to ask yourself, is paper the cause of that inefficiency? Not to mention the fact that, you got to ask yourself why the leasing consultant even needs to be involved in the process in the first place. Through no fault of their own, they really probably delayed the process and created a need for a lot of administrative work that they didn't really need to be involved in. And at the end of the day, what's really critical is getting that information kind of back into a system, because we all want analytics. It's so key today, and once it's in the system, we can do something with it. But if we don't get it all back in the system and it sits on a piece of paper, well, we all know how often somebody goes back and actually looks at the piece of paper and tries to do something with it. A mobile really improves that ability for documentation, and ultimately it improves your ability to hold people accountable. Paper is not that documentation; it's what gets back into the system. So that's a little bit on on why not to use paper. But then you have to ask yourself, well, why should I even use mobile in the first place? Certainly, there's that element that I was just talking about, where you're able to get it in the hands of maintenance quickly, right? Things can bypass individuals because they're not having to kind of write things down. It should be able to come directly to a mobile device from its source. And then you also have the ability, with that, to introduce media into the picture, whether it's audio, a photo, a video. Because how often do we do a terrible job, really, of kind of writing down on a piece of paper what our expectations are of the service that needs to be done, and so we can document it with a lot more than we're doing today and be a lot more accurate. We're assured that 100% of the service requests get back in the system. As I said, that kind of helps with BI, which is ultimately kind of one of the goals of maintenance, to do more analysis. I think maintenance is also a way to document more of what the maintenance technicians do. They get credit for their service requests, but there's so much more that they do, right? It's the pool chemical checks. It's the, going and fixing up the compactor on the weekend. Those things need to get documented. They come at the budget time. It's work that people do, and it's work that you need to analyze. You can also move to a world where maintenance technicians work across multiple properties, because you have the ability to communicate easier. And then the same thing with that communication, it's also enhanced with the residents as well. Right now, most people evaluate service requests because they get an email, a couple days later on a follow-up to something that, we all know what happens to the email. Most of the times we hit delete, and if we happen to be aggravated enough, we'll respond to it. But, you think of how many times you responded to Uber and given that type of feedback. That capability exists with maintenance today, to get feedback on everything, but not in a paper environment. And then lastly, one of the things I'd say is that I think it's a morale boost for the maintenance teams. We focus on a lot of technology in our industry for the leasing office, but the maintenance teams, to a degree, I think have been neglected. We've been a little reticent over the years to put computers in maintenance shops, but moving to the mobile world, allows a lot greater capabilities there. And I think that's going to be a recruiting edge for the early adopters who embrace the technology and move to the paperless environment. So I think ultimately paper really is to today's world what the Model T was or is to automobiles. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Raymond. That's a couple thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. I wish some of those Post-it notes sitting here on my desk would make it into my computer.
You've proven my point.
Yeah, no, exactly. Chase, any thoughts on, why sometimes people think that technology overcomplicates things, and to that point?
Definitely. I think Terry hit on a lot of really good points. Whenever implementing technology, there's always hurdles, always new challenges and new problems that arise. And sometimes, in effect, it can overcomplicate things. But to Terry's point, I think on the maintenance side, there's so many advantages and advances we can make. You see, on the operation side, we had such a large focus for many years of getting to the point of residents entering maintenance requests via portals to help streamline the process. The natural evolution of that is getting the maintenance side on the same kind of system so that they can do it more efficiently. When I look at it, there's really 4 main areas that maintenance can really help be facilitated with technology, being efficiency, communication, organization, and mobility. Those 4 large areas. And Terry hit on a lot of those. 2 of the big ones, one of the last points was communication, and that's huge. We live in the time, especially with the millennial generation, where there's instant gratification that's wanted and needed. And so when you're sitting at work and you know that your AC has been fixed before you even get home, and you can get that text message that it's been repaired, it's done, your maintenance request is up to date instantly, rather than waiting for the paper that's left on the counter in the apartment when I come home 2 days later, right? And lastly, mobility. I think this is a huge one that sometimes is overlooked, that as the maintenance men are out and around on the properties, as maintenance requests are coming in, they're able to be more responsive and provide a higher level of service. They can respond to requests without having to go all the way back into the office, especially in some of these larger communities with high rises or large garden styles with a lot of buildings. They don't have to keep going back into the maintenance office, find out what the requests are, shuffle through the stack of papers. They can respond on the fly while they're in other units. Maybe the unit next door submits a maintenance request while they're in one, and then they're able to just pick up right there and go next door and start to address that. So you see a lot of efficiencies there. Overall, I think those efficiencies heavily outweigh, sticking to the paper. It's a hard transition. Change is never easy. But what we're seeing is maintenance really adapting to this and embracing it because they're seeing all of these areas of improvement.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So moving on to the next question, and this one's for you, Matt. You are the only operator in the panel today. How are you executing due diligence, work orders, and preventive maintenance and inspections today?
It's kind of it's going to be a long question here. I'm going to try to shorten it for this panel, but we've been rolling here at Campus Apartments. We've been rolling out our mobile maintenance strategy for about 2 years at this point. The first year really was a lot of testing, a lot of planning, working with our software provider on what works for us. But the last year, we implemented and started our rollout of all those policies and procedures across our company. It's been a heck of a year, really exciting for us. So, I'm going to answer your questions on each one of these things, but I'll tell you where we were, which sounds at this point archaic. And I'm having flashbacks of due diligence with, these undersized clipboards, scrambling around in the morning trying to print out all our forms, pencil point breaking and having to go back to the office with copies because we're running out of paper. These monster Excel sheets that were just awful. Digital cameras, really, having to download all that to the PC, and then doing our admin as soon as we got back for the next 2 weeks, compiling all this information, trying to remember what we saw while we were there and where we saw it, and coming up with, an actual good report that we can use intelligently for purchase of property or a takeover. Now, we issue tablets to our guys. They go out there, they're preloaded with the unit numbers and the bed counts. There's a uniform grading system that we're real happy about. We do a quick once-over with everybody in the same unit, make sure everybody's on the same page. If we find something that we want to look at that's not in our standard form, we can add it quickly. We can take notes inside each unit. And then by far, photos, again, it's each unit, so we take thousands of photos. And then by far, the best part about it is these reports are a click of a button. So these exception reportings that the software provides us, multiple softwares out there provide, it's just really amazing and exciting and takes literally weeks of work away from us. So that's all really exciting. I'll go into work orders very quickly. Chase hit on this really about how maintenance is really taking advantage of this. We issue tablets to all our sites, and coming from the old way when our office would take a call from a resident, that's like archaic at this point. Type it into the property management software, print out 2 copies of a work order, put in the three folder system, open, closed, pending. maintenance guy has to come back, check the office to find it. Then he puts it in his tech bins. It is, I apologize. Anyway, leaves, and then when we get into the unit, we leave a hand note. Now, as Chase was talking about, it's instantaneous information. So the tech is getting information delivered to his tablet on what work orders are being assigned by the superintendent. The residents are putting those work orders in digitally. While the tech is in there, like Chase was saying, they can actually communicate with the residents, put what they did, when they were there. And then if another work order comes, and then it gets automatically pushed to his device by the supervisor. If he's in Unit 101 and 102 complaining about something, the decentralization of the shop that this technology is able to give us just really improves our efficiency. I know I'm running behind a little bit, but preventative maintenance and inspections. What comes to mind when I think of preventative maintenance is logbooks and manual entry, binders, all on the shelf, all in our maintenance programs. And being corporate myself, that tells me about, gives me flashbacks of corporate visits, checking these binders, making sure it's done, going page by page to do evaluations of what our team is doing. And now all that's digital. And we're still working on several logs, but we're starting to get our logs digitalized through this inspection software. And those logs that are digitalized, we can check from corporate that they're done. They're actually coming up as a work order or as a to-do for the maintenance supervisor. When it's completed, we can see it from here. Really great stuff. To take one more minute, talk about inspections. We do quarterly inspections, and the old way is obviously 3-page logs for each unit, 4-inch binders, just archaic stuff like I've been saying. Now our tablet, our work orders, now it's through a tablet. So all this gets put into our form. We're able to create work orders off it for things that we couldn't get done. It's just a monumental change, and it's been really exciting inside our company to get it going. So that's all I have. Right back to you, Raymond.
Well, thank you. We'll jump to the next question. We'll jump back to Chase. Chase, we are, what are the prerequisites to having a mobile maintenance program? Some people have to get the, bring your own device issue out there. Can you discuss desires that you're seeing from people, to use their own devices, or what are you seeing in the industry that people are doing in regards to bringing your own device?
Yeah, I think that, as I like to call it, the BYOD, bring your own device, there's a lot of different philosophies. It's an area that people are still really trying to figure out. I would say it's probably one of the areas that there's the largest lack of policy yet. We did a study with maintenance individuals and found that the majority of them were willing to use a device, even if it was their own device and there was no policy, just because it was easier for them. So they would use that own device even if there hadn't been this BYOD created or out there for them, because they were seeing so many efficiencies and it was so much easier for them. And so they were kind of taking it upon themselves and doing it. We also found that they, for their typical day-to-day maintenance, are preferring a smaller device that's mobile that they can carry around with them. Matt talked about inspections. We do see a lot of the inspections being done on tablets, as there's a lot of information that's typically contained within those. The other is around the data, right? So is it a Wi-Fi? Is it 3G, 4G? How are those data plans handled? And we've seen different philosophies. So having an iPad that has a corporate plan on it that they can pick up in the office, and there's 2 or 3 of them that are contained there that they can take out and manage, and even electronic devices that aren't necessarily a cell or smartphone, right? There's the iPod Touch, which will have all the same functionality, so you're not having to pay for the cell phone service, but they can still use the internet, and it can be Wi-Fi or 4G enabled, so they can have that constant connection. We have found a higher level of satisfaction with maintenance individuals when it is a 4G or LTE device versus a Wi-Fi, just because they typically have less problems. We all know at the communities, Wi-Fi in the common areas and across the community isn't always consistent and reliable. And so having that constant connection becomes very critical. Most of the technology and programs that are out there today do provide caching functionality, so it can be used offline, But to the earlier point, there's so much that's going on in real time. They have a higher satisfaction when they can see that real-time information and see a new maintenance request come in immediately and not have to go back to a Wi-Fi area to cache and re-pull that information.
Great, thank you. Matt, do you have any thoughts? Do you guys allow your people to bring their own devices or to use their own devices, or do you provide that for them? Quickly, we're running out of time here soon.
I think that maybe Matt might be muted.
Oh, I apologize. There we go.
Well,
Great answer, Matt. Great answer.
Great answer.
That's the end of our show. We have an IT department that was very active in this. They care a lot, and their job is to worry about our data security, the security of our data. They really fought hard against bring your own devices. So we issued 4G tablets to all our sites. There's a lot to learn. We've learned a lot about that. As Chase was saying, there's a lot of differences between Verizon, T-Mobile, the cell signals at each different site, and it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So, you know, we issue tablets where it's not without some issues, but that's what we did at our properties, and we're still working through it.
perfect. Well, we have one last question because we're getting close to our 30 minutes here, and so this one's for Terry. Terry, kind of looking past currently what people are doing, what do you see the future of technology for property management maintenance down the line a couple of years?
Yeah, well, you know, it's hard to tell what happens in a couple of years. I mean, given how slow our industry tends to change, you know, as we see, there's a lot of debate on some of these topics, and I look forward to kind of talking more about that when we're together. But, you know, to touch one more thing on the BYOD, I mean, and maybe this is the future, I do think that at the end of the day, we will be in a paperless environment sooner rather than later. I also think that every technician will be using a single mobile device. You know, what we see generally is if companies are supplying the devices, you know, the maintenance technicians are choosing to download whatever they need on their own phones anyway, and just use a single device rather than have two devices sitting there. Nobody really wants to carry it if they can avoid it in any way. And those are challenges we've got to overcome. And NAA is working on that, I know, with a white paper on that. But a couple more things I think that we're going to see. First of all, service requests will bypass the office. It just saves time. There's no need for them to do that. All communication is going to be electronic and instantaneous. You know, that Uber type that I'm talking about. There will be no need to file anything anymore. There will be unbelievable analytics that are available in our industry and available in real time. We'll have greater ability for team members to communicate with one another. I think our supplier partners will be integrated, and we'll bring them in just as we assign tasks to our own team members. We'll assign them to our supplier partners as well. There'll be no paper logs. You know, we were just talking about that. That will go away. All that will be electronic. You'll have a greater ability for corporate to have both insight and oversight over a lot more than they do now. It opens the door for greater efficiency in training because you can communicate and train mobily. I think overtime can ultimately be tracked, you know, more electronically than it is now by I'll call it trust. You know, and the ability to kind of manage across properties and manage time allocations will be there. Better data for budget meetings and going in with just kind of a swag of how we got to replace things. There'll be warnings that pop up on warranty items rather than you just, you know, fixing something that is under warranty. There'll be the ability now for corporate and organizations to communicate with maintenance team members, many of whom today don't have any email address, which would be the only channel that somebody could reach them. So I think there's going to be greater camaraderie among teams overall. And I think we'll find a way to bring something like gamification in there as well to kind of get extra rewards. But I know, Raymond, you've talked about this as well. The training, the ability to kind of disseminate messages to the team, right? Whether it's a new, you know, a new maintenance provider that you're bringing into the fold, you know, you'll be able to communicate that instantaneously and be assured that it actually gets where it's going. A lot of that we talk about in the future is just a matter of how quickly people adopt things because 80% of that capability is there today. People are just slow to kind of grab onto it. So that should give you at least a little glimpse.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And I think we're running out of time here, and I appreciate the panel joining us today. And obviously we have a lot more things to talk about. And for everyone that joined us today, I saw we had great attendance. And so please come see us, and we'll dive a little bit more deeper into inspections and due diligence as well. And we talked a little bit about mobile maintenance on the work order piece. And we'll dive a little bit deeper and discuss, and then actually what things are out there specifically, and a little bit more detail in that. So hopefully you can join us when you come to Atlanta. Like I said, we're excited about the conference, and we look forward to it. So thank you. Again, that's Thursday, June 22nd, 8:45.
One more time. What time is the session, Raymond?
8:45 to 9:45, Thursday, June 22nd.
Awesome. That's a great spot, by the way. You should get some good traffic. So I wanted to take just a second to thank Terry, Matt, Chase, and Raymond for sort of giving some really good thought to this topic and organizing themselves and preparing to share some really helpful, useful, actionable information in today's webinar. You can see that their emails are available on this slide. So if you have follow-up questions, you can reach out to them. You could also come to the session in June if you're not registered. The registration link is at the bottom of the slide. Before you scurry,
I would add, Clark.
Yes.
Clark, I would add, if they have any questions or something specific that they want us to maybe cover at the conference, please email me or anyone on the panel, and we'll see if we can fit it in and answer your questions and prepare before the conference.
That's awesome flexibility on your part, and hopefully somebody will take great advantage of that. Don't worry about having to write down those email addresses or that registration link. We have recorded this session. It'll be provided. The recording will be posted to the web, and you all will get a follow-up email. If you attended or even registered for this webinar, you'll get a follow-up email that will give you access to the full recording. And you're welcome to share that with team members who might not have been available today. So there's that. I want to let you guys know that I have one more webinar. This webinar was number 5 in a series of 6, and we've got one more, which is going to take place the week before the conference. It's a pre-conference planning webinar. So in that webinar, I sort of break down the big chunks of the conference and talk about some highlights of things that you shouldn't miss. The intent is to help you prepare for a really good attendance strategy. So once you hit the ground, you can really maximize your experience. So you're welcome to join me on Thursday, June 13th for that. That will be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And with that, I'm going to sort of wrap things up and bring things to a close. I want to thank all of our presenters today. The dudes rocked it. Totally excited. You'll get all this information in a follow-up webinar, and we will see you all in Atlanta. So have a good day, everybody. Thanks for dialing in.
All right.
Take care, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.